Welcome, Vols and Lady Vols, to Powered Tea Talk. You know what feels better than being elite once? Being elite 3 times.
We're ready to go.
A third straight Elite 8 appearance for Tennessee Volunteers. A special 1 a.m. broadcast with the beer, the Tennessee whiskey right here that I'm pouring for myself as I do the intro. I have, other than the referees, zero complaints about that game by Tennessee Volunteers. Incredible.
Just multiple people stepping up in multiple ways. I super proud to cheer that team on. I mean, we've had our moments this year where we were wondering if they would have moments where they could get back over the hump in some of these games. They played tough as nails tonight. And that wasn't because they shot the ball well, but that wasn't because they were knocking everything down in every moment. There were multiple guys who got significant minutes who had to kind of bide their time throughout the year. Every single person that played tough as nails.
The really only 2 complaints you could have would be Jacoby had 5 turnovers, which in this game actually made sense with how the refs were calling it. And then Mari Evans was feeling himself a little too much in the second half. 2 pretty bad 3-point attempts. Other than that, Jalen Carey turned Nikola Jokic for about 20 minutes tonight. He had 11, 10, and 4. Okpara had a double-double. Nate had 18 on 10 shots. Boswell played unbelievable defense on Momcilovic. I didn't know if that was going to be in the cards. And I want to give Rick credit, and I want to give myself a little credit. I wondered in our preview if Rick was going to play off Torre with one of the bigs. And he did. And he moved Boswell to Momcilovic, had Nate guard Heisey, which Heisey actually cooked Nate a couple of times. And then Gillespie defended his ass off against Lipsy. And it was the absolute perfect game. But their defensive game plan tonight was impeccable. The stuff that they did defensively, the execution, the game plan was remarkable tonight.
Anybody who's like kind of post hoc looking at this box score, kind of basking in it, which you should be, and is sitting there wondering like, oh, I thought this Momcilovic guy was kind of their leading scorer. I thought he was this dead-eye shooter. He winds up 2 of 8 with 6 points. He went 2 of 9. He went 2 of 8 from 3. Completely insignificant 3 towards the end of the game. He was really 1 for 7, essentially. There's one answer to that question. We played great team defense. Mm-hmm. But you had Bishop Boswell, a 6'4", 2 guard who's physical, guarding a 6'8" perimeter shooter who's the best 3-point shooter in the country. And I'm not trying to just throw shade at somebody just because we came out victorious, but Momcilovic did not play tough that game.
He seemed like
he wanted to find the ball and pull it, but he kind of multiple possessions. If he didn't come around the screen and get a shot right away, he sort of just faded off further away from the perimeter and was done with the possession. There were a couple times in the second half where he didn't get his shot right away. And, I'm in celebration mode. I don't mean to go like hyper analytical right away, but like he didn't get his shot. He didn't get his shot right away. And instead of continuing any kind of action, he just faded a little further away and didn't move around anymore. And given the player that was out for them, that's kind of it. Besides Heisey going to the basket, it was disappointing. If I'm an Iowa State fan, that was a pretty disappointing performance from our best shooter.
And Steve Lapis and Andrew Catalan were making sure to tell us, Joshua Jefferson not playing this game, and it did matter. I'm not taking away from that, but that's how it goes sometimes. They really could not. They had nothing in the second half offensively. They really didn't. The only thing that they had was their free throws. It was the only thing they were able to do. They had 25 free throws. I'd say like 18 of those at least were in the second half. And Momcilovic, Lapis, I think, wanted to say it, but he didn't. He shied away in the second half. Big time. He got beat up. And, I would say that little 5-minute stretch where the refs were just absolutely. I mean, Tennessee got 10 straight foul calls on them. It was insane
In a
before Iowa State got one.
in a 3-minute or 4 game minute span, 10 straight foul
Yes,
calls, 30 minutes of real life time without a foul called the other way.
100%. But the point I'm making, the refs let them play when you really think about it. It was really physical, especially in that first half. Tennessee stepped up. They were not scared of Iowa State's defense. And even though they had 17 turnovers, they were still being aggressive offensively. The stuff Rick had drawn up in the second half on the half court offense, he made Otzelberger go to zone. I did not even think. I mean, Lapis was just flabbergasted. He couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They were cooking him so bad in the half court, a top 5 defense in the country, that they went to zone out of pure desperation.
They also, when they went to zone, we kind of did the same thing. I mean, they're not used to playing zone, and we just got into the high post and made it. I kind of played quarterback from there. I don't know. I don't know what was happening with like the people we typically experience these games with from a Vol fan perspective, me and you, but also some other people on Vol Nation that we typically experience these games with. We all kind of picked up on the same thing at the same time, where we said, okay, this really, really high pressure defense has been frankly a little terrifying. And like you said earlier in the game, if we don't get this a little more level, it's going to feel like Houston pretty quickly. But then all of us at once had this little, because the post players were playing well and because Jalen Carey was as alive as we've seen him all year, we all had this little moment where we said, wait a second, if they're dedicating this much pressure and energy to Gillespie and Boswell, who seem like they're handling it well, and they did. I don't care about the turnover numbers. They handled it well. They are so vulnerable in the post. And I don't know. I mean, Okpara active from the jump. Estrella couldn't make shots early on, but active, and he kind of came on in the second half. Carey, as he did more with the ball in more places today than we've seen all season. And
I guarded Momcilovic on multiple possessions and hung with him.
There just came a point where I was like, I actually want them to pressure the guards the way they are, because they don't have answers if they do that. And they actually, I think, if they would have dropped back a little, and I think he was trying this with the zone, I was actually really worried coming out in the second half they were going to completely drop back and just dare basically anyone but Gillespie to shoot. And say, like, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be Boswell shooting with a hand in his face. We're not going to pressure you any further out. We're going to sink in a little. I actually think we would have stalled a little bit if they would have done that. Instead, it stayed wide open. And I mean, we've talked about this roster construction, but tonight was one of the nights where it was nice to have 3 bigs to rotate through, because they were really active. They were really tired. They had to play defense, and there were fouls being called.
4. Dwayne Brown gave up excellent 8 minutes tonight. Ethan Berg, Amari Evans, and Bishop Boswell played 62 minutes combined. They had a total of 10 assists and 3 turnovers. That's
3 field goals made, but they did everything else well.
And Berg guarded his ass off. He guarded his ass off today because he got the Lipsy assignment for a lot of that to give Jacoby a breather at times. And
I'll say this too, Berg and Evans, and I mean, this is Boswell's game, but like Berg and Evans, I think kind of did the calculation in their head of like, you know what? I'm not going to be out here and not respond a little bit to the physicality. There were a couple times where Berg fouled and it wasn't any kind of flagrant or anything, but like made it count. Like took the approach of like, if I'm going to get a whistle here, you're not getting a bucket. And sort of just threw his hand up and walked to the huddle. And I respected the hell out of it, because he could have easily been like very tentative and, okay, I'm just here for offense and I don't exactly know where to use my physicality. Instead, he was like, I don't know exactly where to use it, but I'm going to use my physicality, bar none. And that was the advantage that he and Evans kind of had in this game. The one thing I took solace in the first half, I was a little worried about Momcilovic like coming alive. The one thing that I took solace in was obviously this is a death knell in March, because this is what happens sometimes. But Nate Heise ain't taking enough to the Elite Eight. I was
No.
just sitting there thinking, like, him shooting long twos and, like, doing finger rolls, that is not sustainable. And to his credit, I mean, he put up 18. I think it was maybe a season high. It was, he played well in the tournament overall. But that was not going to be the ticket to the next round of the big dance. And it turned out to not be. They also, I mean, it wasn't Heise. He missed a couple key ones, but even as they were on this like onslaught of free throws, where I think you noted 8 straight possessions or 7 straight possessions at least ended in them at the charity stripe. That free throw percentage that we talked about in the preview came back to bite them. They shot 60% for the game, but it wasn't just that. They probably shot 50 or below for the second half.
It was 15 to 25 overall. A couple of missed front and 1-and-1s as well.
And we were going to rebound those. And so it was like, I mean, it was extremely frustrating for that stretch, but it was also like, okay, well, this is suddenly turned into a differently refereed ball game, but we do have possession back. I feel like there were 4 times in a row where I was like looking down at my phone, texting you or like kind of updating the box score. And I would look back up and they were at the free throw line. I was like, what happened? I watched these games on mute. And so I would kind of look back up and be like, hold on a second. There was one time where they flashed to Lipsy adjusting his knee and it seemed like he was hurt. And I was like, what's going on? He was like over on the side. And then just not even realizing what had happened, he just strolled to the free throw line. It was almost like, no, come on. You forgot. You're still at the line.
Yeah. I thought at the end, Catalan, and I think Catalan and Lapis are actually not bad. I think they're fine. Catalan was like Tennessee had 16 offensive rebounds. They out-rebounded them 43-22, which, Tennessee did a great job, +8 on the offensive rebound. I thought that wasn't the story, though. I think the story was Tennessee went 23 of 37 from inside the arc. They shot 62% inside the arc, and they started like 1 of 7 or 2 of 8 because Nate missed one, Destrella missed a couple, Akpara missed a putback. So they were probably closer to 70% after the 15, after the under 15 timeout or whatever it was to start the game. I mean, they had every answer for them defensively. And Iowa State got some deflections, forced offense started. Now, that's why when I texted you, I'm like, man, I'm getting Houston vibes because they couldn't get the ball into the perimeter the first 5 minutes. And they had some beautiful sets. Like there was one they ran for Nate. Nate had a drive and they literally ran Gillespie like 30 feet around to get an easy layup. And they just were, the posts were amazing in that high post area. Dwayne had a great pass. Estrella made a couple really good decisions. And Carey, I mean, he made every right decision in that high post. That one to Estrella down low when they beat the zone was brilliant. He had another one, I believe, to Akpara on an alley-oop. This is not how I thought Tennessee would win this game.
No, I think we may be under. I mean, we talked about the injury and how that would affect their offensive output, et cetera, for Iowa State. I don't think I really clocked just how much of a difference that would make in terms of like usable size they had down low. They just didn't really have anyone that was impacting the game down there. And it's not Blake Buchanan's fault, but like he could not stand up to the onslaught that was happening, and not for nothing. So Heise, Lipsy, and Toure are some combination of like quick and some physicality there. They're not scared to shoot. Like that's what you want out of guards in March in some ways. Not perfect, but suitable. Okay, Buchanan is taking on water the whole game. I mean, essentially, he's got 2 or 3 bigs flying at him every possession with these really, really physical, way out on the perimeter guards. And then the other person who might be guarding the post was not up for the task. And I don't know if that also affected Momcilovic's offense, but he wasn't really effective defensively at all. I think Nate realized, and Nate got in foul trouble, and so it cooled off a couple times right when he was getting into rhythm. But there was a stretch of time where it was like they were trying to kind of mix and match between Heise and Momcilovic on Nate, and I was like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so there were a couple possessions in a row where it started with Heise, and Nate was like, I think more than he even realized, was kind of able to do whatever he wanted.
What I was really impressed with, Jacoby Gillespie was fine. I could not imagine Tennessee would win by double digits with him being fine. He was 2 of 11 from 3. If I said, hey, Gillespie has 5 turnovers and goes 2 of 11 from 3, your immediate reaction is,
we're sunk by double digits, probably.
Yes, but that's what the rest of the team played so well. I mean, like I said, you look at Berg's box score and you're like 2 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, and a turnover, 4 fouls, 20 minutes. And you're just thinking like, whatever, right? Like you box score, watch it. You're like, okay, whatever. He's just a body out there. He wasn't. The defense, he kept the ball moving. He really did a great job handling their pressure. It's little things like that. We love the stats. We love the advanced numbers. Ethan Berg's not going to get any credit for this game with the advanced numbers, but I can tell you how valuable he was because he provided another ball handler that gave some pressure off Jacoby, and he kept the offense moving, and he got a couple of hockey assists that were important. And again, you talk, looking at Okpara, 12 points, 10 boards, 3 blocks. You're like, oh, hey, great. He really kept Tennessee afloat in the first half when Iowa State was getting some run. He had 2 really important transition stops on defensively. He had a huge block. Like, you kind of look at that and you're just like, those little things add up. And then you talked about Carey. We mentioned that. Look, we talked so much negative about him. It's funny. You could probably say he's the MVP of the game just because, like, his impact. He has that huge, steal and finish, which was a great defensive play by him. Their Iowa State's really starting to get in it. He has that beautiful pass to Estrella. He had a couple big offensive rebounds that didn't lead to his points, but were put back. The role players that I can't believe Tennessee won because their role players outplayed Iowa State's role players by a significant margin, and that's including Nate Heise having 14 in the first half.
I was just thinking about this, especially with Carey. We talk a lot about, and you and I kind of both think about this. We talk about sequencing of runs in baseball, as in you can have your total number of runs for a series, your total number of runs for a season. You can sequence them wrong and lose games. You can kind of need to normalize your expectations based on, we just happen to get a hit with runners on base there, not just a single with nobody on base. We scored 34 runs in this series, but we scored 20 of them in one game, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, we sequenced things really well tonight. Jacoby went 2 of 11, but those 2 were big. There was one that kind of stopped a run. I think it was Carey, when there was a moment where Nate and Jacoby were out. Nate because of foul trouble, Jacoby to get him a little bit of a rest in the first half. And the very first possession of those 2 being out, Carey hit a layup. And then, I don't know, it was just they didn't happen when we were losing. They didn't happen when we were kind of just scraping at stuff. Like, this box score could look this way in a losing effort if things were sequenced in the worst possible way. They were sequenced in the best possible way. Nate went 3 of 4 from 3. For him to do that out of rhythm for some of the game is really impressive. But one of the ones he hit late was just an absolute dagger where they just decided to stop giving effort on defense for the first time all night. And he was like, okay, fine. And he knocked it down. And so I'm really proud of this team for consistently bringing the energy, because that's what leads to, like, luck meeting opportunity in a way, or preparation meeting opportunity. But I do think that they were lucky in how they sequenced some things where, like, instead of a little bit of a run from Iowa State, they're just like, nope, we're going to nip that in the bud. We got a post possession. We scored on it. Bam, done.
So we talked, Michigan did our analytical breakdown. I just want to talk about the mental toughness of this team for a minute. You lose to Vandy in a really close game. Nate's hurt. You get a really tough draw with Miami of Ohio, who was the darling going into this tournament. Your 3 seeds, Virginia, who a lot of people thought could have been a 2 seed if the bracket broke a little differently. And then you're going to get this dangerous Iowa State team that some people thought could have got a 1 if they beat Arizona and win the Big 12 title. They got a rule break because of the Jefferson injury. And guess what? Rick Barnes has really never got a break in March at Tennessee.
Mhm.
So, it's fine that he finally got one. To turn this around and get you 3 wins in this type of environment against that type of defense, beating Virginia, and really, when you think about it, they've handled all 3 teams. They have, out of the 120 minutes they've played, 105 have been fantastic basketball. Maybe even 110 if you're feeling a little froggy about that. Give them a break in the first half. And they out toughed Virginia and they out toughed Iowa State, 2 teams that had tough reputations going into this game. So I am blown away by how tough they were, and I have to give credit to the coaching staff. 3 great game plans, 3 fantastic game plans against 3 tough opponents to scout against.
I also think, and again, I don't want to gamble with this type of roster construction forever. I really don't, because there were stretches where it told on us a little bit this year. But if you're Rick Barnes, you can hold your head pretty high when you say, okay, in a Sweet 16 game, Nate had 18 off of 3 of 4 from deep, and then Jalen Carey had a double-double with 4 assists. And again, that's conveniently finding the moment in the box score that it looks really good, but that's the kind of thing you need sometimes. Like, you need the moment where the roster comes together perfectly to be in the right moment in March, not just earlier in the season. And so it was the way they took on kind of the team was clearly getting a little frustrated in the second half with the officiating, but again, stayed very together throughout all of that.
They were not the only ones.
Oh, gosh. That was unlike anything I've seen in a while. And that's not to say that, we haven't benefited from a call here and there, and I'm sure people would quibble with that. But the game, the officiating pattern completely flipped. It went from...
For the second straight game.
Yeah, they got called for 5 fouls in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the second half, and it didn't get called for... I think they might have gotten called for 1 more, but over the next 40 minutes of real time, they got called for 1 or 2 fouls. I just... somebody on Vol Nation said it best. I'm like, oh, I guess they just stopped fouling for a little while and then fouled a little more and then they just stopped fouling again. And so, I understand that that's their style, but there were so many stretches where they were allowed to bear hug and do whatever they wanted. There was one, this was a completely insignificant play, but we had a baseline out of bounds, and we were running an action, and I think it was Evans or Berg was coming down and essentially as a decoy. And the decoy didn't work because he was basically in a chokehold trying to break out from the stack set. It was like, oh, okay. I mean, if that's allowed, then it's going to be very hard to get position on these guys. And so credit to them for just playing like that all year. But you're right. I mean, the second that they drop into a 2-3 zone and start holding their breath, it's like, well, they just put the best goalie in the world on the bench to steal a line from Miracle. And so I'm sure that broke that coach staff to do that, but nothing was working. And so they had to try something.
No, I mean, this would have been 20 plus if it wasn't the free throw.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely would have gotten
slowed the game down enough and got them some points. Yeah.
And the other thing I'd like to say with the coaching staff, we talked about them, 3 straight Elite Eights.
I know.
That's good at any program. That's not just a Tennessee thing. That's good at any program that you're happy with that. So, yeah, we're going to get to Michigan in a minute. And it's daunting. It is a daunting task. The way you just shook your head. We're not doing video, but yeah, it's going to be, they're going to have to play the game of their lives. Almost a miracle-like game as to get the movie reference there. But I want to take a minute before we do that. Just great job with 3 pretty different teams, and to rally this team that looked pretty dead about 2 Fridays ago. I mean, if you told me Tennessee would make the Elite Eight and they would beat Virginia and Iowa State handily, well, maybe not handily, that Virginia game was in the final minute, but they beat those 2 teams, I would have been surprised. more than surprised, honestly. I thought making the Sweet 16 was going to be a tough ask anyway. For them to get to the Elite Eight and give themselves a chance in this game, and I believe they are the lowest seed to make the Elite Eight, if I'm not mistaken, is great job. I mean, is it fantastic?
Lowest seed of a Rick Barnes team, or
just in this tournament?
Iowa made it. Right?
Oh yeah, Iowa did make it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. How about this? It's so impressive that this is Rick's worst seed here at the University of Tennessee, and to get to the Elite Eight with this group is beyond impressive.
It is a round of applause all around for these guys, and that's not me saying like, oh, just pack it in for Sunday, but pause everything. Don't look at the Michigan box score from tonight yet, please, everyone, and just take a second to realize like we're in the Final Eight here, and yeah, it's a dice roll from here, and you could suddenly be going to Indy for the Final Four. It is a massive credit to those guys and that coaching staff. Straight up, no caveats around it. Couldn't have been better in the tournament, which is what you ask for. I did make the mistake of looking at the Alabama-Michigan box score. Here's what stands out to me. There's a lot of things that have stood out from Michigan all year. You and I talked about the one thing that Nate Oates is going to try to do, besides complain about everything after the game, is try to just math his way to victory. Alabama shot 47 threes. Michigan shot 27 threes. They made the same amount of three-pointers. I mean, Alabama made 14 and Michigan 13. Made 13.
But no, you're right.
Michigan is just... If you want to bring yourself back to earth before Sunday at all, like if you were just like, I want to get ready for Sunday from an analytical perspective, we play at 2:15 with a game before UConn and Duke. They're going to give UConn and Duke that more prime slot, no problem, whatever. Is that the right matchup that's there? UConn and Duke? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Duke, UConn. Mm-hmm.
Michigan they just seem ruthlessly efficient, and not like in a slow it down kind of way, in a we can get a lot of buckets kind of way. And they have size, and I don't mean to be negative, but it's the matchup. If I could pick the matchup, they would be my last pick in terms of who's left in the tournament. There's a lot of bad ones to pick from. Arizona looks great. Duke is scraped by. UConn's obviously super tough. They somehow don't lose once they get into the Sweet 16. But this would be the last pick because I think that we have a hard time stressing this Michigan team out. Whereas I actually think there's a version of this team and these guys going up against that Duke team that would potentially stress them out for a second. And like Jacoby versus their point guard could be advantage us. And a lot of size thrown at Boozer, I think, is one way to get under his skin a little bit. And so that's not the case with Lindeborg and Mora and just this slew of guys who can also find the bucket.
There's a lot of green on that KenPom scouting report.
Yeah.
A lot. Top, right now, number 5th offensively in adjusted efficiency. They're first defensively. And I mean, Dusty May is pretty damn good in the half-court offense as well. They're 6th in effective field goal percentage. They're 46th in offensive rebounding. They're 2nd in the country in 2-point shooting. They're 30th in 3-point shooting. They're like extremely balanced. They hit their free throws. Their only weakness is they turn the ball over. Their league average or country average, 160th. Cadeau can get a little sloppy. He has that Hubert Davis, let me do whatever I want for 2 years gene in him that he sometimes will bring out. And sometimes, Trey McKinney makes some freshman mistakes. So we'll see, I think, a few of those. Cadeau, just your classic senior point guard. He's a pass first guy. He's an excellent passer, dribbles the ball, can hit some threes, can finish pretty crafty around the lane. Not great free throw shooter, but also will get in your defensively. Not quite what we saw with Iowa State, but he's extremely good. Lindenborg was first-team All-American. And some people complain because his pure numbers this year from just a look at the points per game, was not pretty. He would put up 20 if Michigan didn't run this about a balance of an offense as you can have in the country.
He's one that I'm actually comfortable saying you just got to watch him play.
You do have to watch him, and he 23 and 12, 7 assists, 2 steals, 12 shots tonight against Alabama.
He moves. He's way too involved and smoothly involved in the offense to be 7-3. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, and you talk about Mara as well. It's just there's some times you're like, that's pretty clumsy, but he's so good defensively. He's amazing in drop coverage, and he blocks shots extremely well. He's 5th in the country in block percentage. He gets offensive rebounds. He 68% shooting twos this year, so he puts it in around the bucket, and then you're just like, okay, those are 3 fantastic solid players. And then there's Morez Johnson, who might end up being the best NBA prospect out of all of them, who's just a freak.
Lindenborg, Johnson, and Mara, who are big, they also play big. And yes, not to circle back and like pile on, but like we're not going to have a moment where like we did with Momcilovic tonight that was like he doesn't seem like he's playing 6'8", and like Boswell can just easily match. Boswell's going to be game for whatever we ask him to do, but this is a different kind of
shoot. Yeah, over some Iowa State players tonight. Yeah,
this is a different kind of length and length that's going to be really hard for Nate to deal with. They just match up really well, and like I said, I just think that if we were doing this, who would you want to play? I think it could be a lack of familiarity with Arizona, but they'd be my last pick, and that's not me trying to be negative. It's not me trying to pack it in at all. But they are just a really good basketball team. And I say that to say, let's go make sure they know they played somebody in the Elite Eight. Because a mild little push from Alabama tonight, but Michigan seemed pretty comfortable in the second half.
I'll get to Michigan's weaknesses in a minute, because I think there's a couple of spots where Tennessee could take advantage. The one thing is Nate's going to have to play better defense than he showed at times against Iowa State, because he's probably going to end up on Lindenborg, because Johnson's an absolute beast on the boards and Mara's 7-3. So Estrella, Akbara, Brown, and Carey are going to have to play those two. And then Will Shetter is 6'8", 230. He's stretch 5, but he can get in, do some dirty work as well. So you can't, and Lindenborg's too talented. You can't get away, I think, like they did with Momcilovic, with like, oh, Carey's on Momcilovic's possession. Okay, we know what Momcilovic is going to do, right? He's going to run, try and get open for 3. That's not Carey's strength, but he at least knows what he's going to do.
He can go meet him somewhere on the perimeter, basically.
Exactly. Lindenborg can do it all. So if Carey's on Lindenborg, it's just a straight mismatch. I will say LJ Cason got hurt, and Michigan has not been as smooth offensively when Cadeau is not going, or when Cadeau has to come out. They've struggled. They've tried Trey McKinney as the backup point guard. McKinney's a fantastic player. He's going to be an NBA player. He's not a natural point guard. He had a really good game today, I will say. So that's the one thing maybe Tennessee can take advantage of, is if they can force some pressure on Cadeau. But even then, you're just like, they still go 8 strong. They played 8 tonight. They trust everyone. And the other thing is they're in great shape too. Like all of them are. And I mean, the other thing too is like Nimari Burnett shoots 38% from 3. And Will Shetter shoots 36% from 3. And then you're like, okay. And then you look at Trey McKinney, a freshman, shot 38% from 3. So it's not only these 3 main guys plus Johnson. They've got Burnett and McKinney that can run out there and shoot the 3 ball as well. And Roddy Gale can fill it up. He doesn't shoot the 3 that much, but he had 14. He had 16 tonight on 10 shots in 27 minutes.
I'll also say this: McKinney's 90% from the line, Lindenborg's 83% from the line, Johnson's 79% from the line, basically 80% from the line. They shoot 75% from the line as a team, and that is with Mara's 54% baked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so
134 tips.
Yeah, without him, I mean, they're sitting around the 80% as a team. And that is 20 percentage points higher than Iowa State tonight, who could not harm us when they got to the line. If they get us kind of on our heels a little bit and it's getting called in a ticky-tacky kind of way and our physicality is not playing up, they're going to cash in from the line. They just are. And so, besides Mora, their worst free throw shooter that plays is Cadeau, and he's still over 70%. I mean, he's still not going to brick him up there.
No. Now, a couple things I would mention. This is only something you would get if you watch more than like 3 or 4 Michigan games. They're the worst starting team I've ever seen. The first 5 minutes, they look like you're just like, how is this the 1 seed? Alabama jumped them 11-2, I think, today. It's every game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a flow thing, whatever. It just feels like they're down 11-2 to start every single game. And it killed them against Purdue because for the first 10 minutes, they went down like 10 and they could never catch up to Purdue. So if you're Tennessee, you might be able to get out on a 12-2 run, start the game. And now you're just like, can we play them even for 35 minutes? That could be something you could take advantage of. The other thing I will say, Burnett and McKinney are good 3-point shooters. They can be very streaky, though. They are not. They are guys that. I'm trying to think of the way I can phrase this. They're not Momcilovic, where it feels like every shot scares you going up, or where with Momcilovic you have to literally guard him from 35 feet in. With Burnett and McKinney, you can take a chance and play off them a little bit to stop Lindenborg and Cadeau's dribble penetration. You might get burned. It's possible. But they have had moments in the games that Michigan's really lost. Their 3-point shooting has kind of abandoned them. So when they played Duke, for example, they were 6 of 25. Burnett was 0 of 3. McKinney was 0 of 3. Cadeau was 1 of 6. Not a good.
Yeah.
That's how they got them. In that game, they scored 63 points. Against Purdue, they shot a little bit better, but even then, they were 7 of 24. McKinney 0 of 2. Burnett was 2 of 5. Shetter was 0 of 3. Cadeau was 1 of 5. So they're a really good 3-point shooting team. The numbers bear that out. But in all of their losses this year, except Wisconsin,
all 3 of them,
they lost to Wisconsin. Yeah, they really struggled from 3. And I think that's how I would do it, is I would collapse on Lindenborg and Cadeau, force the ball out of their hands and let Burnett and McKinney try and beat me. And if they beat me, I will live with it.
Because I think like the other story that's we're going to be telling afterwards, if they try to stop everything and move to everything and like guard a little bit of the perimeter, but that leaves the other guys, the bigger guys, backing down in the paint and kind of facing up. I just worry that it's going to turn into one of those like death by 1,000 paper cuts games where it's not that they go on a 24-9 run. It's that they're just kind of constantly on an 8-5 run, and they're going to make their free throws and they're going to get an and one here or there, and they're going to take advantage when we miss a shot. I just worry that it extends to 6 and then suddenly it's 12. We cut it to 10. Suddenly it's 14. I worry about that a little more than I worry about them absolutely lighting it up from 3, like you said. If they do that, it's just another really difficult thing to overcome. I think the one thing is Tennessee has shown against Virginia and against Iowa State, 2 good teams, they can muck it up a little while somehow still going pretty quick. Like they were pushing the ball tonight when it made sense to, but Gillespie has a really good instinct for when to like use a possession. And so maybe they can find a way to play a mucked up game, but occasionally get out on the break, occasionally get a layup. And so you don't have to deal with as much of that size if you're not trying to make things happen in the half court. And so, again, we can't just run and gun, but I think if we can get some of those fast break points and make Mara get back on defense or get there first, those are easy buckets compared to how you have to score against this team in the half court.
And by the way, we haven't talked about the number 1 ranked defense in the country.
So that's the thing that stuck in my head. the defense that we're going to face on Sunday is a better defense than what we faced tonight.
Than the one we just faced, yes. Mm-hmm.
A better
It is
defense
100% true.
I mean, just a longer defense at pretty much every position. They have a just massive post stopper on defense, which did not exist tonight at all in the Iowa State game. That's why we were able to have so much success from the high post. We could go downhill. Gillespie did it a couple times. He hit a great floater teardrop. We could go downhill towards their bigs, and it was not stressful at all. Whereas with this one, it's going to be.
Yeah, Mara's maybe the best drop big in the country, honestly. It's 7'3". They can you think you have a chance from, and unless you're Purdue and you throw up these 13-foot floaters that somehow go in over him, he basically stops most of the shots he faces. Now, I will say something very interesting about Michigan. Michigan is 277th in the country in forcing turnovers. They don't force a lot of turnovers, and they're a good offensive rebounding or defensive rebounding team. They're 39th in the country. But when Mara's out and he has a propensity to get in foul trouble, part of it's just he's aggressive in this drop coverage, and part of it is he's 7'3", and players will take advantage of that. So if you could get him in foul trouble and you get Cheddar to play more, you've got an advantage because Cheddar is not anywhere near the level defender that Mara is. And then with Johnson, they bump him up the center. They'll move Lundenborg to the 4. They're not as strong rebounding wise. So if you get Mara in foul trouble early, you've got a chance. You got more of a chance than you do against them. They defend the 3-point extremely well. They're fantastic inside the perimeter as well. And like I said, they're third in the country in block percentage. So and they don't foul. Like that's the other thing too. They're 14th in free throw rate defensively. So they don't foul unless it's Mara. They're not overly aggressive. They're going to play mostly man, but Dusty May's really good at taking away your half court action, and he's excellent at that. Like it's Rick Barnes-esque really with how he's able to game plan and come up with really creative stuff to make sure you are not able to get into your sets.
If I had one wish for Sunday, a couple of Boswell corner threes would hit so hard, man. As they crash and as Mara is like obviously soaking up space in the middle, some version of Nate or even the post or even Gillespie kicking out for a Boswell corner three. If that happened 2 times in the first 10 minutes, it would do wonders for this matchup. Doesn't guarantee anything, but it would do wonders for this matchup.
Tennessee cannot shoot 7 of 22 and win against Michigan. And they cannot have 17 turnovers.
It's a tall task.
Even if they somehow, and part of this is like, I just can't see it unless Mara plays 15 minutes because he picks up 5. Even if they shot 62% from inside the perimeter again somehow, Michigan's too good offensively where you're going to get outmathed a little bit. It's not that Michigan takes a ton of threes, but they just hit them at such a good rate. And I don't think Tennessee's going to get the offensive rebounding that we've seen in the past to extend possessions and steal some points. So they're going to have – Boswell's going to have to go 3 of 8. Nate's going to have to go 3 of 4. Amari's probably going to have to hit 1. Berg's going to have to hit 1. Jacoby cannot go 2 of 11 again.
He needs to be hot.
He's got to hit 5. Like we talked about in Virginia, we needed 6 non-Jacoby threes, right? They got 5. But Jacoby, I think, hit like 5 of them, so it ended up working out. They need 5 Jacoby threes in this game, in my opinion, to win.
He needs to be a little bit unconscious for some kind of stretch.
And if he takes 15, then so be it. Like
I
think I'm willing to. I know Rick will probably it will end him. Like that might be his final day.
That's what we're doing, Rick. Sorry, man.
Sorry, but it might have to be. He might have to take 15 this game. And like I said, Alabama tried to outmath them and they couldn't. Like Michigan was too efficient. And just to give you a point, they actually did only shoot 55% from the free throw line, but I mean they shot 52% from 2. They hit 13 and 27 from 3, and they had 22 assists on 33 made buckets. It's just, and they blocked 8 shots. They're just so good.
blocked 8 shots when Alabama shot 47 threes.
Yes. So, and they blocked 3 or 4 on the corner, like against Bama. They blocked 3 or 4 on the corner. It's not just Mara. Like Johnson would be the best center in probably 80% of the conferences in this country. I mean, he's that good. And then, Lendenborg's 6'9" with a great wingspan. And I mean, they've got Gale's a super long defender as well. And McKinney's, I mean, he's 6'4", like 225. He looks like a linebacker out there. They're athletic, they're tall, they shoot, they play defense. I mean, they're about, like, maybe the only thing, I don't want to say they're a perfect college basketball team. That doesn't exist. If you were to build a NBA or a College Hoops 2K18, this is probably how you would do it, honestly.
A world where after Sunday, we are looking at Illinois, who you and I both think is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of Purdue, Arizona, neither of those would shock me. Michigan, and then the winner of UConn and Duke in the Final Four. Like, there's a reason that's probably the more popular choice, straight up. There's a reason that makes a little more sense as we've seen the relatively chalky NCAA tournaments recently. That picture makes a lot of sense to me, but we're going to roll the ball out and play. And we have a super physical team that has experience. We have guys who are willing to stand up to someone like Michigan. It's just a matter of if they can overcome a really, really tough opponent. And I'm not even in prediction mode. I'm in like enjoy the run mode. Like we are. Yeah, we can be like level in our analysis and kind of think about how hard it might be to overcome this team. But we're also 1 win away from the Final Four. And that would be a Final Four.
This would not be the biggest upset in Elite Eight history.
No way. And a Final Four matchup where it's like this team playing with this level of confidence against like Purdue. Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and I think the other thing I would say is we've seen it with Michigan, and I checked the Wisconsin game. They shot like 7 of 22. All it takes is for you. I don't know if Tennessee can hit. Well, maybe with Jacoby they can't. If Tennessee hit 12 threes because Jacoby hit 6 and Michigan hit 7, there you go. Like that, there's your ball game. That's the thing with the 1 game tournament, right? And Tennessee's been on the end of that plenty of times. They've got an opportunity to make history, and it would be incredibly from the most unlikely of places with this team when you think about that Barnes has always had at least a 5 or better with his seeding. But at this point, if the refs are not feeling Mara's play, they get 2 fouls within the first 5 minutes. Jacoby hits a couple threes early. We talked about, Gale's not scoring. Burnett, McKinney aren't hitting their threes. That pressure starts winding on them. It's absolutely possible Tennessee can win this game. Do I think it's likely? No, I do not. But at this point, with a 6 seed and how bad this team looked near the end, this is all gravy to me at this point.
And then, like, if we make it to the Final Four, I think we're both going to be back in like maybe we can win this thing mode. But Michigan just feels like a really, really big ask right now.
If they win against Michigan, that's to me Michigan's best team in the country.
Yep.
Like, in my opinion. Doesn't mean Tennessee's going to win the tournament if they beat Michigan, but that means you beat the best team in the country, which means you can then beat anyone in the country. And there will be some good teams. I think the rest of it's we got 2-1-2 matchups. Illinois has been playing like a 1, and then Iowa's just had this incredible Cinderella, maybe not Cinderella, but had this incredible run. McCollum's been fantastic. So, yeah, I wish we had Iowa potentially on our side of the bracket instead of Arizona or Purdue, but that's either here or there. But I think the first 10 minutes are going to be really important in this game. I don't think Tennessee's going to get blown out. I don't believe that. I think Tennessee's shown that they're tough mentally, that they can overcome that. But if they can start out and get a 14-4 lead and Mara picks up 2 fouls and McKinney's and Burnett are 0-3 from 3, and Cadeau's had a couple turnovers, and just put the pressure on Michigan, squeeze them a little bit to where Michigan maybe starts taking some shots they normally don't like, or all of a sudden when Johnson's out of the game because Mars got 2 and Cheddar's the 5, they're killing them on the glass and extending possessions. That is how I think Tennessee is going to win this game. They've got to come out flying the first 10 minutes. They can't come out flying the first 5 minutes like they did against Miami and against Iowa State. Or else now Michigan either is going to have a slight lead or play them even, and then you're in trouble the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think they've got to find a way to get the upper hand early instead of trying to claw back in the entire game. I think that's just going to be really, really uphill battle. I don't know. I had so much fun tonight.
Yes, I did too.
It was a wild ride. Like I didn't feel comfortable until there was like basically a minute 15 left because I was just like expecting some kind of run. But once we realized it was just like it was such an awesome feeling. I'm so proud of these guys. Seeing them post game was awesome. I just hope they bask in it and then get ready for Sunday. A lot of good basketball left. I will say the unique snapshot that we can take right now of the Nationals are, I don't know how, but they're 1-0. The Nationals are undefeated. The Braves are undefeated. Tennessee's in the Elite Eight. I'm fine enjoying that. I'm fine leaning into that and just saying, let's let it ride as long as we can.
And that's the beauty of the tournament. We talked about April or we talked about March and how weird it is. And I still, that 19 team is probably the best team in Tennessee history when you actually think about it. And all I could think about is bad that Purdue game. And somebody posted it on Twitter. I saw the highlights and I literally, like, my mood changed. And then I'm going to think about this team in 10 years and be like, man, what a great ride that was. And I'm going to forget about how frustrated I was for 4 months, and that post I made about how the roster construction doomed the team and everything, So this is the beauty of March Madness and what it does. And what a story it would be for Rick Barnes to take this particular team and beat Michigan in a Midwest regional.
Yeah.
And be able to get to a Final Four at 72 years old, at least 71, he'd be the talk of the tournament, honestly. He'd be the talk of the Final Four, and it would be wonderful for the program. That this program deserves a Final Four. And I think if Tennessee makes it, we'll probably go a little bit more nostalgic. This program really does deserve a Final Four. Like, this has been a really good basketball program. This is the best basketball program that has not made a Final Four, in my opinion. And being able to pull off a huge upset on Sunday to do it, and think about how close they were in the Elite Eight against Michigan State as a 6 seed, against a top team, it would be awesome. It would be wonderful to be able to get that.
Yeah, this is why they do it in March, and so I'm just ready to hear. I'm ready for like a little record scratch. We've got ourselves a ball game feeling on Sunday. Like, give me that and let us be in it, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. I'll also say this, and I think you and I just both hinted at it about 10 minutes ago. Everybody else out there, if you're a fan of one of the other teams remaining and you stumble upon this podcast, don't let us win this one. Because we can beat everybody else that's left in the bracket, in my opinion. Not that we will, but we can. And so don't let us win this one. If Tennessee fans are annoying to you, you better go ahead and cut it off on Sunday, because we're not going to be less annoying after that.
Jacoby's not going 2 of 11 from 3 again. Nate's getting healthier every single game.
Another week, and we're going to Indy. Don't let us win this one.
Don't let us win this one. The Bigs are feeling as confident as they ever been. Berg's playing the best ball he's had. I agree. If Michigan blows, I'll say, if Michigan gets upset and blows it, they have as good a chance as anybody.
Yep. And we'll leave it at that. It was so much fun tonight. It was late. I made a double espresso at like 5 p.m. and it was like, there's nothing better. I probably will not do that again for a while, but I'm glad I did tonight. I'm glad we got to experience it together. I hope you all listen to this and you're just as excited as we are. We tried to get it to you as quickly as possible because this is exciting. And we've got another fun one on Sunday, hopefully.
Absolutely. If Tennessee wins, there will be a podcast Sunday night. It will come after my victories. It will come after cigar and whiskey.
Which will be even better.
Which will be even better. That will be first. But we will do a podcast Sunday night if Tennessee wins. If not, we'll be back on regular schedule. But it's been a great ride. I'm hope we do this Sunday night. It won't be as late. That's good.
Yes.
But I appreciate Daniel. I appreciate you staying up with us. I know you got a long day tomorrow. I can be lazy, so I don't have anything planned. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But I appreciate you staying up. Please subscribe, guys. This has been an exciting year. I'm hoping we can continue. It's been a great run so far. I'm hoping we can continue on Sunday. Please give us a subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate it. And go Vols.